Hey everyone, I am now live. I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, if you don't mind just, saying hello in the comments section while I'm trying to get the audio started up, just let me know if you can hear me. Trying to make sure all these settings are correct. I don't do a lot of live streams, so trying to get the technical equipment set up correctly. So let's see, I'm watching the comments as they come in. I've seen y'all been talking a lot before. Okay, I see. Okay, great, you can hear me. The last time I did a Hangout, it did not go well. I had a lot of problems with the camera, so hopefully this time around it will work better. I've been watching the comments as I've been getting things set up, and it seems like a lot of people, well, I've got a lot of flooding in here. It sounds like a lot of people are already having intense conversations before the live stream started, so I'm glad that y'all are at least having an initial dialogue, nothing too over the top I've seen so far. But hey, just want to welcome everybody. Got some comments, people from Germany. Just thank you for hopping on. And, a lot of people already posting some comments. Central Texas, looks like we have Central Texas. Canada, we've got, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, but Nicolette from Canada. And it sounds like people are stocking up, some people with alcohol, they're ready to go. So Wisconsin, we've got Wisconsin here. And yeah, looks like a lot of people are, let's see, Central Texas. So, hey, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to jump in on this. What I'd love to do is just, have kind of a brief start off, just lay some housekeeping rules to begin with. I definitely want to keep this civil. This is not a political rant from me or, telling anybody obviously how to vote. I'm just encouraging people obviously to vote. Today when I went in to actually vote early this morning, it was kind of interesting. You have the option of dropping off your ballot. I definitely wanted my vote counted directly in the voting machine. So I'm sure a lot of y'all probably share that. So, hey, Yay is me. Yeah, you always come on. I appreciate it. From El Paso. Thanks for hopping on. I appreciate you coming in. But yeah, I just want to again lay that, kind of some housekeeping rules. Let's keep it civil. I know everybody's got their political views, and yeah, hopefully we can be respectful in this time. But what I want to do is just kind of share some pre-election tips, and I'll open it up at the after about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm just gonna share some information. I've tried to talk to some different people, especially in law enforcement, and have some friends that work in different federal agencies, and just trying to get a pulse from them, what they anticipate and what they see coming, what they're preparing for is the best way I could phrase it. Overall, I haven't really heard anything that was, too shocking. Most of it comes down to just simply, people are preparing for the police, the military are preparing for civil unrest and the potential for, as we all expect, riots and potential just chaos for lack of better words. And one of the things that, I shared a couple of weeks ago in a video where, I was overseas, I did humanitarian aid work overseas. And one of the things I learned very quickly, and I would probably encourage people to be careful over the next week or two to avoid high density population areas. I think that's where you're going to see a lot of challenges come up. I just would hate for people to get caught in the middle of a particular riot or become collateral damage, so to speak. And one time I remember I was in Afghanistan in 2003, and again I've shared this. I did NGO work there, and there was a situation where we were in the downtown area and there was a riot. It got out of control really quick, and fortunately we were just far enough back that we could quickly turn around. We were in a car. And it kind of taught me in that moment not to get into high density areas whenever there's, potential civil unrest. If you are in a downtown area, again, just, keep your head on a swivel, lock your doors. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, especially on your car, because you don't have control if somebody walks up and just decides to hop in your car. But one of the things I'm trying to encourage people is just basic preparedness. And again, I hope this doesn't come off as fear or, trying to tell people to, you need to be scared and don't vote. Quite the contrary. My hope is, and so many of us here, we really hope for a peaceful transition, or a continuation, whichever comes down, whether it's, a continuation of this particular administration or a transition to a different one. Either way, all of this I'm sure would hope for, and the best, which is a peaceful transition. Again, what I kind of anticipate is local pockets of different, people protesting around the United States. And, if you haven't already done so, take the time to make sure you do have food and water stored up. Again, if you don't need to go into high density population areas, I would advise you, if you can, to avoid that. And that's kind of the approach we're taking. We've been stocking up using services like, Instacart. Every area has their own services, but just having food delivered to us, and just making sure, that we kind of get our ducks in a row if we need to stay in place and not have to head out anywhere. If you're in a cold weather area, fortunately in Southern Cal, we don't have to deal too much with cold weather, but if you're in an area where you anticipate a lot of cold weather over the next few weeks, definitely make sure you're stored up on fuel. I know the Canadian Prepper, I think he did a video a couple days ago talking about fuel storage options. And, again, for us, we've been pretty fortunate. We just don't get really cold weather here, so it's not something usually on our mind. But if you're in an area where you possibly foresee that, hey, the power could go off or there could be a disruption, make sure you're prepared for that. What I'm personally preparing for over the next couple of weeks, I've been getting people email me, ask me questions, what I'm kind of anticipating. The short answer is I'm assuming tomorrow what we're going to see is probably an election, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes smoothly tomorrow. But I'm assuming by tomorrow night this time, or, shortly thereafter, we're probably not going to see a clear winner. If we do, if it's a landslide and it's very clear that no matter, the ballots, bringing the ballots and counting them, they won't make a difference, that could be the best situation we could possibly hope for, just a clear landslide. And whether that's going to be the case or not is to be seen. If you look at the polls and look at the different information, even conservative and liberal, and everything in between, the different polling information, it seems like there will be a landslide. But again, I'm not basing that on or saying that on personal preference or what I believe, but just from what I'm seeing. And I'm trying to remove my emotions from the situation per se and just look at what the information is showing. So I hope that we see a clean cut tomorrow. I hope it doesn't get dragged into the courts. We saw that in 2000 where things just got dragged out for quite a long time, and it kind of got a toss up. So that's hopefully the best case scenario that we can expect. Again, no matter, even if we say, hey, here's a clear winner tomorrow night, it's a landslide. Depending on who wins, I think we're going to see a different reaction from different groups. Obviously, we saw this year the potential for civil unrest, and again, we face a lot of those same challenges. So what I'd love to do is, again, I didn't have a lot of information planned in advance. I've done a couple of videos over the last week talking about a few different scenarios that I think people should prepare for. And if you haven't already done so, go check out those videos. I won't necessarily drag those out again here on this channel or during this hangout. But what I'd love to do is just kind of open it up for your questions or comments. We can go through and talk about some of the different feedback the community has. Again, everybody's on pins and needles waiting for tomorrow to finally pass. Hopefully within 48 hours of right now, we'll have a better understanding of where things are at. But I'll finish by saying this. What I could hope for, apart from having a landslide victory tomorrow night at this time, is that we can hopefully return to a sense of normalcy in this country. I know it's been a while since we've seen that. It seems like we've, last year especially had a lot of, how should we put it, a lot of chaos, a lot of uncertainty between the pandemic, between the riots, the different things that have come up, the stock market crash. I think it's been definitely a time of uncertainty in our nation. But what I could hope for in the best situation is that things go back to quote unquote normal and boring. I definitely miss those days, I'll say it that way. I hope we can all see that again here soon. And thank you, by the way, Survival Living, for the $5. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. And great channel, by the way. If you guys haven't checked out the channel, please do so. If I'm remembering it to be the same one, I apologize. I've seen a few channels with a very similar name. So, hey, on that note, what I'd love to do is kind of open it up. for some kind of Q&A. If anybody, has any specific questions, what they, want to discuss coming up for tomorrow, the next few weeks on that note. I'll just kind of read off some of these comments as they're coming in here. I'm not sure if there's a delay between when I read them and when the actual comment is posted. But let's start off with a few of these. So Prepper Brian Keith, here's a question for you. Do you think the UN will get involved in our country's issues? No. When I lived in Afghanistan in 2003, we had ISAF there, and it takes a pretty big situation for the UN to get involved. There have been foreign groups warning that America is in a position of instability that's usually reserved. That type of warning is usually reserved for, third world nations. So it's, I think, one of the first times they've had to declare and, that for America. So that's kind of says a lot. So let's see. I'll go through some of these. Jefferson Martial Arts, good evening, Semper Fi. If you're a Marine, I'm assuming you are. Thanks for your service. I appreciate it, Jefferson. So some of these next ones, let's see. Gregory Atkins, not worried about tomorrow. In general, it's the day after the election. Unless Trump is declared the winner tomorrow night, then it will be a rocky few, not days, but weeks. Hunker down if you can. Again, I think if Trump is declared the victor, if the, how should I put this? If the ballots clearly show it that it's a landslide, then the question becomes, well, do we go to ballots? And again, I know that's probably going to be the big fight. Will be at the judicial level, Supreme Court, over the ballots. We already saw a big case today in Texas where I believe they were trying to throw out 127,000 votes because they were drive-in ballots. And the Texas Supreme Court, I believe, they actually shot that down. And tomorrow, I believe it goes to the Louisiana. I forget which circuit, if it's the Fifth Circuit. So that one is going to be interesting to follow. And I think we'll see cases like that over the next couple of weeks. So let's see. Droning on. Lockdown is coming right after election. Maybe. Hope it doesn't go to that point, but it could be. So let's see. Now, I saw a comment. I apologize. This is kind of hard to scroll through this. And by the way, Lenora Short from Canada, thank you. I appreciate the donation. Thank you very much. Let's see. Mark Herseg. Apologize if I'm mispronouncing it. I've been watching your videos for ages. I try to follow your advice, but my family thinks I'm crazy and watch too many doomsday videos on the internet and spend unnecessary money. That's a hard one to answer. If this year doesn't prove, how important the need is to prepare, I'm not really sure what else can really, convince somebody. But I think, as in all things, there is a balance, and there is, I try to find the middle ground between living a normal life but yet preparing. So I think there's always a value in moderation. Again, thank you, Lenora. I appreciate the donation. I'm scrolling down here as I'm kind of reading through these. So Bob Baldwin, Obama-strong cities allowing UN troops are on the room. I'm not sure what that statement is supposed to mean, but let's skip down. Let's see, Frost of the Web, do you think anything will happen to DC? Obviously, if you've been reading the news today, they put up these special type of fences that prevent, people from being able to climb over. So they're preparing for, potential unrest and a lot of riots. So if that's any indicator, I think there's definitely a lot to be learned from what they're doing there, and they're preparing for it at least. Dustin Michaels, the dollar will have to crash for the UN to come in. Beyond just a dollar crashing, it would take a lot more than that, I believe, than just a dollar crashing. Again, the countries where I've lived in where the UN was involved, again, Afghanistan, it took a lot to bring the UN, ISAF, and other agencies because it was a collapsed state. Again, I think we're pretty far from that point, but let's talk again in 5 years. Who knows? Christian Healy, what if Trump wins? Will the civil unrest be worse? Wow. And let me, say this, what I'm about to say. What I try to do is stay neutral on this channel, and I don't try to add any political views. If history is an indicator this year of what we can expect, I think there is a strong potential if Trump wins that you will have a lot of civil unrest. Obviously, we did in 2016, but nowhere near the level we saw this year. And I'm not saying that as a statement of judgment, but what I view as information from what we can observe from the past. So take it as you will. If Biden wins, I just don't know. I just don't know. I mean, again, we've seen some small flare-ups in a few cities. Even in the city next to me was in the news. Different groups, Trump supporters that have shown up to try to, circle up different people that would be voting. So obviously the two I don't think are the same, but the issue with voter intimidation I think is something that does concern me. And I would say that no matter which political side was doing the activity. So, having said that, I'll just keep scrolling down. So, chef hits the fan. Should I keep the kids home from school? That's your call. I'm sure a lot of schools are probably going to be on edge. We homeschool, so we have the, fortunate that we don't have to deal with that and have that concern. But if you're really concerned, you might want to, strongly consider that. So let's see, what's the other one? Building castles. I love my country and the value, the founding fathers and the Constitution. Trump 2020. Yeah, I mean, I think, regardless of which political side you're on, I would love to believe that, we all love the Constitution, we love our country. And again, I know patriots from both political stripes. I know people that have served and laid down their lives in different, political spectrums. And all I can say is I hope that as a nation we can come back after this and find some points of unification or some points that we can agree on, and I think that's what we're missing right now. So let me skip down here. Love Your ARs America by Matthew Kitchens. I would love to talk more about ARs on this channel, but with the rules and the strictness that YouTube has, I'll probably create a separate channel soon talking about firearms. But hey, that is unfortunately something I can't really get into with this channel right now. So let me see. Yeah, is me. I'm more worried about Thanksgiving gatherings. Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be, and already, the scientific community is warning not to, have large gatherings. That's going to be really hard for a lot of people. My family, my wife's side of the family, they're pretty big, and getting together is a pretty common thing. I think we're gonna, we're just going to kind of hunker down in place. I don't think we're going to go and spend time with family this year. It's a tough decision, but it's something I think we're going to just avoid to be careful. See, Kim Randall donated $5. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Kim Randall. And I apologize, I haven't seen your name pop up anywhere. I'm trying to keep up with these comments as they flow in here. Let's see, salutations. Let's see, the eyes don't lie. Salutations from Michigan. Do you think an internet media blackout is possible during, after election? I don't think it's highly probable. The question is anything, the answer is anything possible? I mean, anything is possible. It's not something I'm too worried about unless things get so out of control that the government feels, they need to slow things down from information that could, cause riots. Obviously, we saw in countries during the Arab Spring how social media was used and leveraged to cause, communication in these different areas, these different pockets where there's a lot of upheaval. And so I believe they, even in Hong Kong, they had to shut down. If I remember correct, they had to shut down during that time as the government was trying to stamp down on the people there. So let's see. Let me scroll down and try to catch up with some of these. So Raphael M, we can see you're not liberal. Your testosterone level seems pretty normal. I don't know if that's directed toward me or someone else. I mean, again, that's something I get, a lot of people here lately are kind of, upset that I don't have a lot of primary super right-wing talking points on the channel, and I try to avoid left-wing talking points. I try to stay, again, in a position of neutrality, and I try to stay moderate with the channel. There's a lot of reasons for that. And, again, I love this nation. As someone that looks at the political sides, I see a lot of division. And things can go extreme on either side, and I try to stay level-headed. I hope, if anything, from this channel, that's what people can take away, that I do try to take that position to be level-headed. And again, it's harder and harder in this day as things are getting, so to speak, pushed to the edges. Let me skip down to a few other ones here. Let's see, Celtic Sunrise. Oh, I'm so sorry. Every time I scroll, this thing jumps all the way to the bottom. I'm so sorry about that. Hey, an old friend of mine, Clint James. Hey there, Jerky. Hey, Clint. Hope everything's going Well, as soon as this pandemic's over, I will definitely be coming down to Dallas to visit you. Let's see, Prepper Days, don't trust the government with guns that doesn't trust you with your guns. It's interesting, I read a lot of articles from different, sources overseas, NPR, Al Jazeera, BBC, and their view of America, especially our firearms, it's interesting, looking from the outside in. They don't have the same amount of mistrust, I think, that we do, and I think there's a lot to be said about firearm ownership. It's something I wish I could talk about more on this channel, but again, that's YouTube. So again, I'll probably be starting up another channel here soon. Let's see. Let me keep scrolling. I apologize again. Let's see. Taylor Bradford, do you believe there will be a seed shortage in the spring? That I don't have enough information to give a strong opinion either way. I will be sharing a video here shortly about some of our own experience trying to do gardening. It was not very successful this year. Had a lot of problems, and we had someone that came and kind of did an analysis of our garden setup, and they pointed out, some of the bee population is down 50% this year, and it's creating problems for crops. So I think it's something people need to prepare for next year. Let's see, XRP. Have to ask, you seem level-headed. JFK Jr. alive. I hung out with a friend last year that he's a big QAnon guy, and I know that question is probably from the QAnon community. All I can say is I don't have any evidence that proves it, so take that for what it's worth. If we did have any evidence, I might be, might have a different opinion, but I don't see any evidence of that, and otherwise I think it's speculation at best. Let's see, Dick Whiskey. Hey, let's see. Internet working keeps the rich folks' money moving. Grid down is not likely, but stuff gets real heavy. I think you're answering the question that ties into earlier of internet blackout. I don't think there's an advantage to the wealthy, to the elite, to knock the internet down. If money's not moving, it's not to their advantage. I can tell you that much. So let's see. Let me keep scrolling down. Mountain Man, first time visitor to your channel. I've been preparing all my life. Please get out and vote. Yeah, and let me just take a second to echo what you're saying here, Mountain Man. Please, sorry if you can see the sticker. I get out and voted today. Again, I shared this at the beginning when I first came in. They were saying, hey, do you want to take your mail-in ballot and sign it and drop it in the box over here? And they said it's no different than going to the machine and voting, but I don't know. I just wanted to actually walk in physically, get my printout of what I selected so that nothing can be, manipulated, or there's no. Well, I'm not so much afraid of manipulation, but more concerned about if this goes to the courts, that they would try to take ballots that were either returned in these boxes or otherwise, and they try to turn those into a political fight. And again, I saw that in 2000 with Bush versus Gore. The same thing happened, and I just think there's a potential for that happening again. So if you do vote, if you can vote in person, great. If you can't, then go to the boxes. At this point, I think it's too late to probably do a mail-in. I know a lot of states, we've already passed that time, so just vote. That's my PSA for you in summary. So thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it. So let's kind of keep scrolling. So let's see. Chip Signal just donated 10,000. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And for that, I appreciate it a lot. Alaru, how does civil war start in the suburbs? Does my neighbor come over and shoot me? To your main question, how does civil war start? Civil war starts from people being so dug in on either side. And someone mentioned this earlier in the comments. I'd have to go back to the history and look to see who's, bringing. I think it was a discussion before I came on, but the discussion came down to, is a two-party system really sustainable in our country? Do we need a third party? I would like to see eventually a third party at minimum rise up. I know there's other countries that handle their voting differently. The problem is we've got special interest groups that are so dug in on both sides, and it's frustrating. It's hard for the average person to feel like their voice is heard, and then things are becoming so polar. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if you're just joining, I talked about my own view on a lot of my own political views in the sense of I tend to be a moderate. There's some things that I value very highly. I'm very First Amendment. I think if we don't have, First Amendment is something that is so important in our society, and I believe the Second Amendment is equally as important. Again, if you're probably watching from Europe, you may be asking, hey, you guys in America are so obsessed with the Second Amendment. And I'm a very strong believer in the value of having the right to protect, and if need be, if the country gets to a point where people have to protect themselves from a tyrannical government or outside invaders, I would love to believe that we would never see that in our lifetime, but I think there is value. There's an interesting TED Talk, actually, if you Google it, TED Talk about the Second Amendment. Fascinating. I believe the gentleman that gave it was actually European, and he shared the story of watching his grandfather or father watching the Nazis roll over into his country, and how the weapons they had were very out of date. They didn't have a chance, and the chaos that ensued. So, anyway, without going on too much further, I'd love to see or rather a third-party independent voting political system, hopefully in the not-so-distant future. All right, so let's see. I'm going to keep scrolling down here, and every time I click, it just drops me to the bottom, so I'm so sorry. And again, someone else gave R, was just a letter R, gave $10, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Mary Baldwin, are there any libertarians here? Yeah, I'd be interested to hear from their community. I have a lot of friends that are libertarian, and there's a lot of views that I really respect about their community. Let's see. I'm gonna try to keep up here. I think we have 1,100 in the chat. My typical chats are around 300, so this one's very hard to keep up with, and I apologize. I'll do my best here. So let me go up. Pablo Mariano, do you think China will take action over Taiwan depending on the elections? I talked about this in a video recently. One of the things that could potentially happen is because our election this time around, if things turn chaotic over the next few months, and I talked about this in another video, outside countries, or rather countries, outside the United States, that have kind of been, staying on the sidelines while we keep our military, strong around the world, they may make moves. China with Taiwan, Russia. I mean, there's other countries that have kind of, again, stay on the sideline waiting for their moment. So if we show, I think, and if things get out of control over the next few months, I wouldn't put it past other countries to try to make moves they normally would not. I'll say it that way. Let me skip down here to Keith Wingo. What do you think would happen if protesters try to overrun a polling location? We had a situation yesterday that was not too different from that in the city right next to me in Temecula. There's a large group that circled up around a polling location. The police were brought in. And again, if you just Google the news for Temecula, California, you can read the story about it there. So I don't know if we're going to see that tomorrow. I would like to believe that it doesn't happen, but who knows? I'm going to keep scrolling down. So let's see. This is, again, I apologize. I need to, if any of you guys want to be a moderator next time, I need to bring in a moderator. This is just too hard to keep up with. You can reach out to us, cityprepping@gmail.com. I might try to bring on a moderator here on the next live hangout. So let me see. Let me try to catch up with some of these. Jose Gambo, God bless America. Yeah, I mean, God bless America. God bless all the countries. I mean, we live in such an amazing time. We live in such an amazing country. I think if you've never lived outside the United States, you don't know how good you have it here. I used to do NGO work and humanitarian aid down in Mexico. I lived down there in 1996. That's where I learned Spanish pretty fluently. There wasn't anybody there that could speak English, so I had to learn how to speak Spanish very quickly. And actually, the first time I went down to Mexico in 96, I had to get my appendix removed, of all places, in Mexico. I woke up the next morning, my appendix was in a jar, and I get to keep it and bring it back. It was an interesting experience. And I can tell you that the times that I've left America and come back, I definitely feel like I want to kiss the ground when you touch down. We live in a very fortunate country. I know a lot of the world is looking outside in right now, pretty surprised at what's happening. So I just hope, again, that we can come back from whatever it is we're in right now, this anarchy, this division. Let me try to keep up here. The Kraken, you're in Elsinore. Yeah, you're really close to me. I'm here in the Inland Empire. Let's see, building castles. I'm technically a right-leaning, pro-life libertarian. I was a Ron Paul girl, 100%. I did vote Obama for the first time, then learned a few things. I was a reluctant Trumper, hated Hillary, now Trump 100. Oh, well, you've definitely covered the different bases I can see there. You covered all angles. Let's see. Kelly V, just for laugh, you could watch epic rap battles. Oh yeah, love rap battles. I know they just recently came back this in the last year, so I've kept up with them lately. Felicia Williamson, excuse me. Do you think small cities will escape protesting and rioting? I think small cities, for the most part, unless you have contingencies or groups that purposely try to cause chaos. But again, we saw over this last year, the different areas where we saw riots and protests are usually in larger city centers. I think there's different reasons for that. So I'm not personally, usually in small cities, I grew up in a town of 2,500 people in East Texas. And, people know each other. There's not usually a large group that's trying to cause chaos because everybody knows everybody, right? No one wants to tear down the town. So I would like to believe small towns are going to, not have to deal with that, but that will be seen. So let me keep scrolling down here. Again, I apologize if I jump down and move past a lot of you guys. Let's see. Logic1611, hello from Oceanside. Hey, Logic. I was just down in San Diego this past week, and while I didn't pass through Oceanside, definitely a beautiful area. Let's see. Put in slow mode. I apologize. I don't know how to do slow mode. Let me see here. Again, I'm going to have a moderator next time. The Apex Prepper helped the Urban Prepper on his channel for his hangout. I'll probably have him. And again, if you want to help on the next one, just shoot me an email, and I'd be glad to have somebody help. Let's see. Chris L from Canada. Love the channel. Love the channel. From Canada looking in, I think the only calm outcome is a Biden landslide tomorrow. What do you think? Wishing everyone safety. Take care. Wow. I got to be careful answering that question. What do I think? I think that there's okay, so let's just look at this objectively for a second and pretend like, we're all looking at this as adults. We're not going to be mad based on what names I say just now in a moment. So let's just look at this. I think if we do look at a Biden landslide and it's crystal clear, there is no road that Trump could possibly get the 264 or 270. There's no pathway that he can make to get to that number, and it's a Biden lock-in. I think you're going to see relative calm, but I can't, I just don't know, the groups that are out there that, that are going to be upset. Let's just put it that way. If it's a crystal clear Trump landslide tomorrow at this time, 11 p.m., whatever, East Coast or West Coast. Geez, I don't know. I could imagine that scenario going either way. I could see, people taking to the street and protesting. I would like to believe that it's going to be calm and rational protests, but again, we saw this year that there will always be the element that will try to tag along, and anarchists and those that would, try to take advantage of protests that can be peaceful and try to, leverage or, capitalize on the situation. So, again, I just don't know how this is going to play out tomorrow. And again, that's why I keep telling people to prepare. I hate to use a word in the phrase, I don't know. But again, I could see this going either way. And I hate to make definite statements on my channel because then people are going to look back and say, well, why didn't it go that way? And the answer is, I don't know. Time will tell tomorrow. So let me just keep going on here. So let's look down. I'm going to try to scroll. There it goes. It jumped. I'm so sorry. So let me look at some of these. Damian Garcia, how do you think people will respond if they implement a mandatory buyback on gun confiscation? And I'm assuming that's probably in relation to a question if, a anti-2A candidate wins. I don't think that will work very well in America. There's a lot of countries, obviously, that have, that have done it in Australia, New Zealand, but I just don't think it's going to work well here in America. 46% of all the small farms in the world are in America, and I believe for every one person there's 1.21 farms. So, yeah, I can't imagine that going over very well. So let's keep going. All right. Prepper Brian Keith, Trump will win. Kathleen Anza, I disagree. Trump will win. So this is a conversation that I didn't really want to get into too much on this channel, but let me pull back for a second again and say, okay, again, if you've watched my channel, I try to be objective, I try to be level-headed, and I try to make statements based on I try to avoid bias, and it's not easy. And sometimes people call me out and say, "Well, you're being biased here." And okay, sometimes I am. I mean, we all have bias. It's just that is a reality. So if I were to step back, and a lot of times people are asking, "Who do I think is going to win?" And usually when people say, "Who do I think will win?" usually what they mean is, "Who do I want to win?" So instead of saying, "Who do I think will win?" "Who do I want to win?" I think the question needs to be, what does the data show us? What are the polls showing us? Now, of course, we have to put a caveat on that question because, again, in 2016, the polls were showing Hillary Clinton way up. But, again, I've been studying these polls very closely over the last few months. They've put a lot of different factors that weren't initially analyzed back in 2016. And it shows at the moment, even conservative polls are showing Biden ahead. Now, does that mean that he's going to win? I don't know. And I think if you were a betting person, I enjoy going to Vegas every blue moon. And if I had to put money on the table, not again based on what I want, but what I'm seeing, it would look like Biden would be the winner here. But again, that could flip either way. And I think that's one of the things that, and I won't go on too long on this point, but I think that's one of the issues that I would love to see resolved hopefully soon in the next year or two is our system, our voting system, it seems so susceptible to manipulation, and I would love to see that changed. I have no idea what other countries do, but I think we definitely got to work on ours. I'll put it that way. So I have skipped down to see what all the responses are based on what I just said. Maybe some people are mad. So, and let me just kind of skip down here to the bottom. Okay, so one of the comments here from Just In Case, feels like a rerun. The Matrix is running out of material. Sooner or later, there will be a glitch. Does it feel like we're living in a matrix sometimes? Some days I wonder if we are. I know that's one of the things Elon Musk talks about, but I feel like it some days with some of the things that we're seeing, and it is frustrating. So let me keep going down here. John Wolf said, let's see, someone paid $5 a minute ago that said, libertarian here, being in a city of 40,000, can I better prepare? We're headed for an economic crisis worse than Venezuela. Your thoughts? Hey, I'm so sorry. I know someone did donate $5 a second ago. This thing is scrolling that I can faster than I can keep up with. And again, I owe you a direct response. Here it is. Okay, the motivational trucker, Jeremiah 33:3. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just scrolled up and saw you. Libertarian here. We are headed for an economic crisis worse than Venezuela. My thoughts. So I don't, Venezuela is a different situation. When people try to lift other nations and how things have gone in other nations over to America, it's not a one-for-one match. America has the assets that we possess as a nation is way different than any other nation. I don't know how many trillions upon trillions of assets that we own. And you may say, well, what difference does that make? Countries like Venezuela and other countries that are similar economies, they just don't have the resilience and the depth that America has as far as financial assets. Now, having said that, and again, I'm not an economist, so I'm not going to try to debate somebody from an economical perspective on this, but from the limited amount of information I've studied, it's hard to lift and do a one-to-one comparison. Now, having said that, I think our current economic setup in America is a hoax. We're currently, if you look at the stock market, there's a massive disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street, and that's mostly because the American government is propping it up through subsidies, which at the end of the day, the taxpayers, the middle class, you and I will pay for. The wealthy, they'll never pay for it because they have loopholes and ways of getting out of paying, and the poor are subsidized. So it falls on the shoulders of the middle class at this time. So that's my personal concern, is the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's going to fall heavily on our shoulders. And I think what you're going to see happen over the next year is, and I think what we're going to see is we're going to see this party come to an end on the financial stimulus from the government. And when that happens, it's going to be a crash. And that is what I'm personally preparing for. So sorry for a long answer, but I hope that kind of, gives a short answer to what you're trying to ask here. So let me kind of skip down here to the bottom. Breathing sunshine. Venezuela was super rich country. I'm not arguing whether they had wealth or not. What I'm arguing is the level of assets, raw assets that they possess. And at the moment, there's no one quite at the level as America is at today. that is going to be changing, I think, over the next 10 years with China and India coming online more and more. Let's see, Alpha Indigo Romeo. America was born on rebels. And that is so true. When you try to explain America to other countries, it's hard because we just had a different mind, different background. We were born on rebellion, mistrust of the government. And, let's see. Let me skip down to this next comment. That guy, if City Prepper is pro 1A and 2A, would be nonsensical for him to have voted Biden. They have displayed it that they disregard both for the sake of their agenda. The censorship and propaganda is uncomparable. Yeah, I mean, those are huge priorities for me. Those two laws. Having said that, I just don't know. Even if Biden, if he gets in, I don't know if they're going to go after 2A. Again, I know a lot of people are concerned about that. I live in the state of California. It's just been a reality for us for years, a lot of restrictions. I don't know if they're going to have bigger fish to fry. I would like to believe they will. Bigger things they'll focus on if they do make it into power. And again, I'm just simply stating that if Biden, as I mentioned earlier, wins, I hope they would focus on bigger issues, but I hope they don't go after firearms. But again, we saw that with Clinton. And again, don't quote me on this, but I believe Clinton was the one that implemented the ban on assault rifles, and I use assault rifles loosely because that means so many things. But fortunately, we are allowed, still legally in California, to own AR-15s. Let me skip down here. A battleship, notice me, I notice you. Bella Donna Garrett, I love America. Thank you for saying that. Hello to my favorite YouTube prepper, Stacy Brewer. Hey, Stacy, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry, did someone just donate 5? And let's see, blockchain voting 2024. Other places are already doing this. Thank you for bringing that up. I've really gotten into blockchain this year. I've begun to invest in different types of crypto, and I think that's going to be the ultimate answer: blockchain technology. If you don't know what that means, a lot of companies are moving to blockchain. Blockchain is literally a sequence of information that once it has been stored in a block or a link, it can't be altered. Well, it technically could be altered, but it's nearly impossible. It's way more secure than the other systems that we have. I'll put it that way. But I think ultimately blockchain will be the way, and I would love to see something like that in 2024. So let's go back, and I'll keep scrolling down to the bottom here. Southwest Prepper Group, buy silver or gold if you can afford it. I wouldn't disagree. I've also been doing that. I've known a lot of people that, former business partners. I had some business partners, they bought a lot of silver and gold over the last few years, and they still are. I think there's going to be value if our economy does tend to have real tangible assets. Let me see. I'm going to move up here. Alpha Indigo Romeo. I was in prison in California Stan for most of my life. Sorry to hear that. I just laughed because you say California Stan, and I understand why you say that. I escaped. Still have family in prison there in Valley Center. Oh, I got you. Yeah. I don't think you're really in prison, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, there's elements I love about this state, but there's elements that frustrate me, and I'm thinking about looking at Nevada or going across state lines here soon to at least have something that I can escape to if need be. Let's see. I'm going to keep going down here. Nicole Boyd, I lost all my firearms in a boating accident this summer. Good for you. Prescott Caliber Club, the ATF has gone rogue. If Biden wins, they just need to veto 1 EO, and they'll be able to start kicking doors. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. I spent last fall with a good friend of mine up in Utah, Ring 6. You can check him out, ring6.com. Great guy. We talked about, I didn't even realize that when you go to register a firearm, that information is stored. And again, this is why there's always debate about the federal database. The information is stored locally at that actual location where you purchase it. They have their own information there, and it's not in the hands of the state or the government. And if that changes, if those are moved into some type of federal database, that's where we're going to see. I personally think in the next few years you'll see more of a government overreach when it comes to firearms. Let me skip down here. Let's see. Mickey B. Silver is more transferable on a common level. Agreed. It's a smaller unit. It's more affordable. I think you're going to see the ability, if it comes down to needing it, over gold. So BRA XRP, and I'm assuming you're using that XRP as your username for the altcoin. But Bitcoin is acceptable to 51% of tax, and that is correct. Again, if you study crypto, it would take a 51% attack, which is while technically possible, would be very difficult. Let me see. I'm going to skip over the crypto conversation. I'm a big crypto guy. Well, not huge, but I do love it. It's an asset class that I think it's going to grow over the next 5 to 10 years, and it's already growing. Let's see. Big John, hello, CP. Huge fan here. Do you think our country will explode in the next few weeks? I think we're going to see just civil unrest. I don't think an explosion per se as much as civil unrest. I'm just more concerned for the next 5 to 10 years if this election only divides the country. But again, we'll see. Time will tell. Let me see. I'm going to keep moving down here as much as I can. We'll keep this up for another 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not going to try to push it past 6 o'clock. I know you guys got a lot of things going on, but let's go down here a little further. Let's see. SH, tomorrow is just the beginning. Regardless of who, quote unquote, wins, we still have a lot of hard times ahead. And don't get tunnel vision. This election is not our saving grace. Yeah, absolutely. It's not our saving grace. I think it's going to give us clarity as to what is next. But it's not our saving grace, and we have a lot more challenges ahead of us. Let me see. Here's another donation. By the way, Matt C., thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. Depending on who wins, do you see any possible drastic changes coming regarding our country's leadership response to COVID? Yeah, I do. I think if, and this is, let me preface what I'm about to say by, my background. A lot of you know that I come from a microbiology background. I was a pre-med in college. I did the MCAT. I almost went to medical school, and I decided to not go to medical school. So I respect the medical community. I respect what they have to say. Unfortunately, so much of what they have to say has become politicized, and I think there's a specific reason why. But I would love to believe that we can listen to what they have to say as opposed to discounting them. So, if Biden wins, I think we'll see more of a shift to the scientific community's opinions and feedback. I hate to use the word opinion, but I think to what they're trying to warn us and tell us. I think if Trump continues, I could see, there's already foundations being set and groundwork, rather, to potentially move Fauci, whatever you pronounce it, move him out of his position. So take that for however you want, but I think we will see some changes depending on who wins. Let me go to the next one. Chad Fisher, and again, thank you for the $5. What are your thoughts on the second wave leading to lockdowns, leading to an economic crash? If you've been following the news, you've seen what's happened in the UK. I believe they're now entering, or soon to be entering, into a second lockdown. I feel like we kind of lost an opportunity in the first lockdown to go all the way with it. And we saw a resurgence, obviously. Again, if I did a video on this not too long ago, if you studied the pandemic of 1918, the Spanish flu, we saw what happened in the second wave. It was worse than the first, and the third wave was worse than the first, but not as bad as the second. So if we see fatalities continue to rise, it's just going to come down to the question, which one is more important? People's lives, or do we move on and open the economy back up? I'd like to believe there's a balance. I'd like to believe there's a way of opening the economy responsibly, but yet still listening to the medical community. All right, let me keep going down here. Let's see. I'm going to try to catch up as much as I can, and there's some comments here. I'm still way back at gold and silver. I tell you what, I'm going to skip all the way to the bottom here. I'm sorry if I missed anybody. Let's see. Garrett Rainigal, I'm in Washington State. What do you think will happen here when it comes to civil unrest, rioting, peaceful protest? Obviously, Washington State, Portland was Oregon. Washington, you had Seattle. You saw what happened there. I think if Trump, here's my opinion, if Trump contested and this gets drawn out, or if he flat out wins or wins by ballot, or however you want to, define him winning during the elections, I think you'll see protests in city centers like Washington. I don't know if that's going to spill out into the surrounding communities, but I think it's a strong possibility you need to prepare for. Let's keep going on down here. And again, that's my encouragement to anybody that's living in a large city center. Just prepare for potential unrest, especially if you have to go into a downtown area. Just be careful with that. Let's see. Jesse Bridges, true nationalism, fascism is our only hope. I don't know if that's a joke or if you're being serious, but true, clearly, a fascist state is not something that most people want to live in. I think we saw how that played out with Nazi Germany, so I'm not so sure we want to lift that view and that way of life here to our country. Let's keep going on here. The Kraken, no Rona here. Guess you live on an island. You're a lucky guy. Let's see. I think I'm going to move on from the conversation of COVID. There's a lot of not so good content. This is where it kind of gets a little, people get a little upset. All right, let's see here. So sorry, I'm trying to keep up here. Helmet 600. What do you think will happen if Los Angeles if Trump wins? I mean, I live not too far from LA. I'm about an hour from the city center. I mean, LA had its own riots back. I think this summer they had their own protest. I don't know. I mean, it's a big city and things possible. I'd like to believe, again, they stay calm. But, man, let's have this conversation in 2 or 3 months from now. I'd be fascinated to look back and see what we can learn. Let's keep going on here. CDC, breathing sunshine. CDC says there is no COVID. Fascinating. I have to get an article link to that. Have not seen that information. Let's see. What do you think? Here, let's go back to a few of these other ones. What do you think about the 1776 commission that Trump announced today? I did not read that, didn't see it, so I can't really comment on that. I've been trying to prepare for this video. Let's see, VB Vance. I'm sorry, if there was an altercation with another superpower on American soil, where do you think the main front would start at? Probably coastal communities, if they had come over that way, but again, or on our borders on the south or north, but I just don't think it'll come down to that. I think that would be a pretty far stretch. Let's see, Logic 1611, question to any liberals in the chat. If you're so against us having the Second Amendment rights and full religious freedom, why don't you just leave us alone and we leave you alone? Well, that's something that I'm sure a debate we can finish and figure out here in this conversation. That's going to go well, right? I'm sorry, I just laugh sometimes because I've been in so many situations where I've seen people get heated and argumentative, and it's really, are things worked out in those moments. I'm going to go through a few more of these because, again, we have a few more minutes, and I don't want to keep you guys here all night. Let's see. Where do I keep up with? Or where do I go to? Again, Sanjay Vinug Gopal, I mispronounced your name, I'm so sorry, but how bad do you think DC will get tomorrow? Yeah, I mean, if again anything is indicated by what happened several months ago, if this gets turned into, here's what I anticipate, and I'll finish up with this. I don't want to, again, hold you guys here all night, but if the ballots that are still outstanding that have been postmarked prior to today, if those get discounted or just thrown away and said those are no longer valid, if the laws in that state said they were, and then it gets pushed into Supreme Court, I think you're going to see people take to the streets, and I think rightfully so. Any government that will ignore the voting of the people and the voice of the people, it needs to be put in check. I'll put it that way. I'm not calling for rioting, but I think people are going to have to stand up. I've lived in, and I've seen, let me rephrase this, I've seen countries, and we all have, where the government implemented dictatorships where the voice of the people is not respected. And what I'm saying right now, I don't think should be a political position. I don't think anybody could listen to this and say, hey, you're left-leaning or you're this position. I think that's just any position, any political power would want to, in America, let me put it this way, any political party would respect the vote of the people, and they should. Now, I know the argument and the conflict is going to come into, well, are they valid? And that's where the argument is going to be made. And again, I believe as long as they were done correctly, I don't think there's a lot of cases and a lot of examples where huge voter fraud has been observed. There's been cases, but nothing at the level that would qualify throwing an election. And that's based on my research. And let me just tell you this up front. Me saying that I know is going to upset a lot of people, but I don't really watch political shows. I don't listen to political talking heads. I don't listen to political radio, TV. I try to research as much as I can, because I know the moment that I listen to something that I agree with that feels good, I'm probably getting suckered into an echo chamber, and I try to avoid that at all costs. So take it for what it's worth, and that's just my 2 cents. Let me see, Garrett Ryan Joe. Again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Thank you for the $20, by the way. And been watching your channel for quite a while now. Keep doing what you're doing. Do more of these vids. I appreciate it. I will. I enjoy these talking head videos. I'm probably going to be doing more soon with other YouTubers. These are a lot easier for me than having to sit down and spend hours researching and creating videos. I enjoy, obviously connecting with the community. I'm sorry, I need to get some water here real quick. Let me take a few more questions. I'm going to skip down to the bottom. And let's see, SH City Prepper, for not having a moderator, you're doing well. I appreciate that you stay on point and scroll through the non-related BS and don't get down the rabbit holes. Thank you. Now, thank you for saying that. It's easy to get tied up in tangents. Look, guys, I mean, I don't really share a lot of who I am and my own personal views on the channel. These more casual hangouts like this, I'm probably going to, probably share a little more about my own beliefs, my own background. I never like to preface talking to somebody, even somebody I don't know, or even a friend, with, oh, I believe this, and just lay into people. I usually try to start with foundations that we all agree on, human dignity, respect, kindness, these things that were once part of the conversation in some of these political, discussions. And I feel like so much of that is left, and it's now become petty. It's become, just simple ad hominem arguments that just, people berate each other for the point of berating each other because they don't agree. And people become so, how should I say it, so polarized. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen this show on Netflix. And if you haven't, I encourage you to do so. It's called The Social Dilemma. And it's spoken about a lot of different groups. And it just talks about the power of echo chambers and AI and how you and I receive information. And I'll admit it. I mean, I'm not, I'm very susceptible to that as well. I realize that. But I try the hardest I can to stay neutral. And it's not easy because it's easy for me to listen to something and say, well, that feels good. And I try to stay away from MSM. Let me see, major pain, don't watch any MSM media, no matter the bias. I agree 100%. Because if you were to come at me and you're like, hey, I listen to MSNBC or CNN, well, I'm pretty sure I know what angle you're going to come from. If you're coming over here, I'm on Fox News, I'm on OAN. Well, I have a pretty good idea of what you're going to believe, and I don't really engage with people at that level because I already know what they're going to say, and it's not really somebody that I can probably have a discussion unless, they want to really hold to their position. It usually just is argumentative at that point. So I try to just find common ground is what I'm trying to say, and values that as Americans we all hold true, which is unfortunately missing in our society. All right, so Breathing Sunshine, FDA media download, page 39. They admit there's no COVID isolate, means all testing is 100% fake. I haven't seen the document you're referring to. I'd have to go and look at it and study it a little more. All I know, and I'm not trying to rain on your parade here or what you're saying or trying to be a jerk, but I have not seen anything to the contrary that would, from the scientific community, where there seems to be any type of, argument or disagreement as to what this is. Now, to your argument, you're more than welcome to email me at cityprepping@gmail.com. And again, I promise, if you do email me, I'm not going to get into an argument with you. I would love to, discuss one-on-one. And, people have emailed me before, pretty upset, pretty mad, I'll put it that way. And it's interesting. I try to at least find common ground and don't turn it to, a fight. Let me just put it that way. So don't ever feel threatened. I'll always listen to what you have to say. Let's see, Storm, I engage with Canadian Prepper. Do I get partial credit? I'm not sure if that's into another discussion, probably was, but yeah, Nate is an amazing guy, super intelligent. I'm fortunate that, I have a friendship with him. We talk every blue moon on Skype, and just a great guy. Obviously, you're probably subscribed if you're watching my channel to the Canadian Prepper, and if you're not, definitely go check him out. It's one of the best channels out there. He really helped me, I think, get my channel up and running, and he really, I think, set a, how should I say it, kind of a pattern, and a standard is where I was looking for, that he does an amazing job with his channel. Let me see, I'm going to go for a few more, and then we'll go on. So, all right, some of these I don't know if I should touch. Let's see, AB, you're one of the few prepper channels who's non-biased I can stomach. A lot of others are extreme in their views. I mean, yeah, look, I deal with marketing on a daily basis. I own another company. We do web development. And in marketing, one of the number one rules is you have to create what's called a customer avatar. A customer avatar is creating a persona. It's defining who that person is, what they like, what they read, where they get their information, their beliefs, age, political, you name it. And everybody, when you create this customer avatar, this avatar of this customer that you're trying to target, you have to know all this information, because once you do, you can speak directly to them and engage, and they'll love what you have to say, or at least you hope they do. Because right now we have information that flies at us at 100 miles an hour. You've got a pipeline of information at your fingertips every day. And the question comes down to, well, which information do I listen to? Who can I trust? And so what I try to do is avoid getting into a pipeline or to a scenario where I'm only feeding information that I think my community wants to hear. I know where they lean politically. I know their views. And I say things at times that I know upsets them, and I'm not doing it on purpose, but I try to at least stay balanced and give research information. Now, some people see that as me being kind of a shill for the left, or, oh, you're just a lefty, this and that. My view is this. I mean, again, I've said this many times in this video, is I try to stay moderate in my views, and I'll leave it at that. I could go on about this conversation for hours, and I love talking about it, but suffice it to say, I try to stay neutral as much as I can. Nicole Boyd, 49, you donated money. I appreciate it again. Thank you, Nicole. I didn't see a question or comment. You got to post one. I'll try to get to it if I can. Let me take a few more here, and then we'll wrap this up. Let's see. We're talking about vaccines. Well, that's not a way to end. That would be a whole nother conversation. Let's see. Charles O'Connor. I watch your channel all the time, and you're awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Charles. That's very kind of you to say. And thank you for trusting me and taking the time and giving me your time to watch the channel. Let's see, yet another reason I subscribe to your channel: honest, educated, no arguing, etc. I find it ruins the live stream when people in the video or in the comments argue. Keep it up. Thank you. Next time I got to hire, or rather, if you hire on or bring on a moderator. I think you guys did an amazing job. I didn't see a lot of fighting in here, but I might have skipped ahead too much. So. On that note, one last question. I just want to keep taking questions, but it's already 6. Let's see. Logic16111. What are your thoughts on relocating to Colorado from Oceanside for homesteading, better gun laws, and improved freedoms? Thoughts in general in Colorado? I used to mountain climb every summer in Colorado when I grew up in high school. I've done the tallest mountain, Elbert, there twice. I've done Tabwash, Chavano, a lot of the other 14ers. Love the state, one of my favorites, hands down. I would move there. It's cold, obviously. That's the only thing that would be difficult for me. I've got wicked arthritis already in my shoulder, so I don't think it would go over well for me. But if you're considering going to Colorado, I don't think you could go wrong. I've been talking to Mike over at, what's his name? The channel, Last Line Defense. He lives in Colorado, and he's been super helpful. Great guy, if you haven't checked out his channel, but I know he's there, and I'm pretty envious of where he lives. It looks like it's beautiful. So, oh wow, $200 from Beverly Hill Prepper. Wow, that's quite a sizable donation. Thank you. I really appreciate it, Beverly Hillbilly. Let me see. I love the info you put out. It's condensed and simple for busy people to stay updated and aware of things. Well, thank you first and foremost. I really appreciate you donating that. I'm going to take that money and I'll reinvest it into the channel. Right now, I've been trying to hire on people to help me make the videos more professional, help with research, help with stock and photos and videos. I've been trying to build a team where we can put out solid information, and again, as you put it, condensed information. I try to keep the video short and to the point. It's easy to. I've watched a lot of channels that go in long rabbit holes. I've been doing a video, for example. I've been spending the last probably 3 days putting information together on a video that I'll release in the next couple of days. And it's hard. Sometimes I would love to just throw something out there without really thinking it through. Or let me rephrase that, without spending a lot of time making it perfect. I've never gone into a video not thinking it through. I just won't do it. I won't release it. But I try to spend a lot of time really perfecting it for you guys. And so Beverly Hillbilly Prepper, I appreciate, again, your thoughtfulness and for thanking me. And again, probably my favorite show growing up, the Beverly Hillbillies. My dad had us watching that all the time growing up. So again, thanks for the donation. I'll be reinvesting that into the channel. So hey guys, I'm not going to hold y'all up any longer. On that note, if you love this type of format, let me know. I definitely would love to do more of these in the future, especially with the holidays coming up. Some of us will have some time, some downtime, and I'd love to, just connect more and more with you guys. That's ultimately my goal. So, and I'll finish by saying this. If any of you want to email me and talk personally, you can shoot me an email at cityprepping@gmail.com. Again, that's cityprepping@gmail.com. And I would love to continue the conversations if you want. I'll try to answer when I can. It's usually at night when I'm hanging out with the family and everybody's watching TV, and just flip up the laptop for a few minutes and try to respond as much as I can. So on that note, last question. It's a good question. I got to answer this. Bridget Burke, other than being prepared, what do you think? What do you expect for tomorrow? Is it going to be a SHTF day? I don't know. It could go either way. I would love to believe that it's going to be calm, but is there the potential? How about answering it this way? I never can tell people definitively what's going to happen. I always look at possibility versus what's possible, versus what's probable. If I were to say of all the time that I've been prepping in the last few years, this year is obviously I would have never expected to see the issues that we've been facing at this level. But I think there's a strong possibility for tomorrow for there to be, how should I say it, hiccups or some rogue actors that want to, cause havoc or however you want to call it. But I would just encourage people, if you're going to vote tomorrow, if you haven't already and you want to vote, be vigilant, pay attention, keep your head on a swivel, go as early as you can, and wear your mask and be respectful of other people. That's something, again, I feel like we've lost in our country, the ability to just respect other people. And, again, that's a whole nother conversation, another video. But, guys, I'll finish by saying this. I hope the best for our nation. I love this country. Again, I've been to a lot of other countries, and what we have here is special. And I hope we don't tear it down. I'd love to see unity. And I know that sounds like a pie-in-the-sky wish, but unless we bring some sense of unification back, if we don't have any kind of leadership that will encourage unification, then I think we're just going to continue to spiral down this hole. I'll finish by saying that. And by the way, let's see, JV, you donated some money. I appreciate it. If Donald Trump, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I keep wanting to answer these questions. If DT wins, will there be a coup? What do you think? I did a video on that. The potential for a coup. I don't think it will come from our military. Our military historically has done their best to stay out of political involvement. That wall has been slowly torn down over the last several years. That wall of separation, let me put it this way, things everywhere are becoming politicized more and more. So I don't think it's possible, if Trump wins, that there will be a coup. But I just know if Trump wins, you're going to see a lot of upheaval in our nation. I'll finish by saying that. So on that note, guys, thank you again for taking the time to let me talk to you guys, and thank you for reaching out and sharing your thoughts and your questions with me. Again, I appreciate this community. It's been a great year to grow the channel, getting to know you, and I really hope the information I provide benefits you guys. So on that note, I will wish you a good night. I'll try to do more of these over the next couple of weeks. I think this week is going to be probably a week where, maybe we do one of these again a few nights from now as we things kind of play out over the next few days. You guys all take care, stay safe, and as always, be safe out there.